Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around. This is it. I just want to say thank you to Jennifer and Paul for inviting me. What a great group of people, and I've learned so much. And so I wanted to share. I've only got about 200 PowerPoint slides, and then we can go home. But here we are, the power of laughter. A little bit about me. Paul already said all the credits. I've had the opportunity to share the stage with Robin Williams, Norm Macdonald, Gilbert Gottfried. I could talk comedy all day long. It's my passion, but I've been able to do that. I've worked for companies like Bob J, SAP, the Vancouver Canucks, Build Direct. I've spoken to Nike, Coca-Cola, Vizier, Isons. But during the pandemic, I started my own company, Work Happy Nation, and I work with organizations sharing how we can work happy, how we can put our people before profits, how we can talk about mental health, and how we can be better together. And the thing I'm most proud of, a newish dad of 5 years. Rachel is 17, she's my stepdaughter. Love her to pieces, been married for 6 years, and I'm an avid golfer. So if anybody wants to talk golf after the show, I will be here all afternoon. So today, I just quickly wanted to go over the agenda. We're going to talk about stress, loneliness, disengagement, and mental fitness, how we can do better to talk about mental health, mental fitness, whatever you want to call it, but how we can be better together. So first off, just a quick survey. You don't have to put up your hand, but write down on a piece of paper or keep a number in your head. How happy are you right now, March 20th at 10:57 a.m.? 1 obviously is you're crying. 10 might be you've just won the lottery or found out that you're a brand new grandparent. So just in your own head, where are you on the happiness scale right now? I've forgotten my book over there, but everybody's got a piece of paper, pad of paper. So we are going to be amateur artists, and we are going to draw. And I know, anybody here a professional artist? Okay, that's good. I'm not very good. I can kind of draw a stick man. But I thought this morning we'll take a couple minutes, and we are going to draw the guy who got me here, Paul Ossencup. And then when we're done drawing, on the count of 3, we'll show our pictures to each other and see what we come up with. One last thing. You need to take your pad of paper and put it on top of your head. Like this. Everybody's got their pad of paper up? If you don't have your paper on top of your head, that's not good. All right, are you ready to go? Here we go. 30 seconds. We're going to draw Paul. So he's got a round face, obviously. Glasses are somewhere there. Hair. Oh, wait. No hair. He's got a big smile. He's got a nose. A really big smile. All right, everybody ready on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. That's good. Good job, Frank. Thank you, Paul, for being the guinea pig. And how much fun was that, right? Whenever we said 3, 2, 1, everybody looked at each other's drawings. We were all happy, we were all laughing, and we were all connecting. And that's what laughter does for us. When we laugh together, we connect. So once upon a time, there was this old couple. They'd been married for 60 years, had a wonderful life. They had kids and grandkids, just a wonderful, wonderful life. Well, the day finally came. The wife had gotten some illness, and she was on her deathbed. And so the husband was taking care of her, all of her affairs and stuff, and gently caring for her and whatnot. There was this one box. When they got married, she had a shoebox, the wife did, and she said, whatever you do, never, ever, ever, ever look in the shoebox. And he was a smart man, and he never did. So he was getting all our affairs and orders, and it came down to this last shoebox. And he said, honey, he went to the closet, he brought it down, he sat down on the bed, and he said, tell me the story of the shoebox. And she said, well, when we were married, my mother told me to never go to bed mad at you. And if I was mad, all I would need to do is stay up late, crochet a doll, and things would be better. He's like, oh my God, that's such an awesome story. So he opens up the shoebox, and inside the shoebox, he sees 3 crocheted dolls and $60,000 of cash. Didn't know what it meant. But he looked at the dolls and he goes, oh my God, 60 years of marriage and only 3 dolls. I love you so much, honey, I'm going to miss you. He goes, but what's the $60,000 for? And she said with a smile on her face, that's the money I made selling all the dolls. Always a bright side to the story. So you're probably thinking, what does Skinny John Goodman know about laughter? And the rest of you are probably thinking, when the hell did Prince Harry let himself go? Kind of right in the middle. So today I want to talk to you about laughter, and we'll start with this story. And my dad used to tell me when I was growing up, he said, you know what, Greg, laughter is the best medicine. I said, Dad, you have never had diarrhea. It's a lesson I had to learn the hard way 3 times. But anyway, I was doing a stand-up comedy show, an open mic in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I was halfway through my 5-minute set. There was about 12 people in the bar. Nobody had to pay in to come watch. And I was just getting up. I'd been doing stand-up for about 6 months. Halfway through my set, the door opened up, and in walked my hero, Robin Williams. I couldn't believe it. He walked in, ordered a beer, he sat down, and he started to laugh at my jokes. I was absolutely blown away. So as I walked off the stage, I wanted to see how I could connect with this guy. We had just laughed together. And so I decided that I was going to pretend I had no idea who he was. Absolutely worked. I went and grabbed a beer, sat down beside him, and started talking to him. I said, hey, where are you from? He's like, I'm from San Francisco. And I said, well, what are you doing up here? He said, we're filming a movie, Night at the Museum. And I'm like, man, that sounds like a really cool job. Are you the camera guy? Are you in catering? And he looked at me, he's like, why the hell does John Goodman have no idea who I am? So I kept it going for a couple more minutes, and finally I said, you know what? I absolutely know who you are. I'm a huge fan, and it's because of you that I do stand-up comedy. And he said the coolest thing to me, and I'll never forget it. He said, Greg, keep doing what you're doing because you're funny, and you'll never know the difference you make in someone's life by making them laugh.
That's right.
And that has stuck with me for the last 10 years.
That's right.
So we connected. We connected through laughter. After towards the end of the show, the person booking the room went up to Robin Williams and said, hey, we would love it if you would close the show out. Do you want to do 10, 15 minutes? I leaned over, I said, do you have 10 or 15 minutes? He's like, Greg, I got it. He went up, did 2.5 hours. The bar is now packed. The bouncers are charging $20 to get in. There's people outside. And afterwards, I got this picture. He came up to me and said, hey, thank you for treating me like a regular, normal human being, and thank you for making me laugh. What do you want? I said, I'd love a picture. And you can see he's still got a little bit of, I didn't wear my makeup, but he's still got some on. So that was on a Tuesday night. The next night, I was going to another comedy show in downtown Vancouver at Yuck Yucks. I was walking with my buddy Ian, and I hadn't told Ian the story yet. And we're just about to walk into this hotel where the comedy club was, and Ian starts giving me the elbow. I'm like, what? And he goes, look, Robin Williams. And instinctively, I looked up, and I was like, hey, Robin. And Robin's like, Greg, how's it going? And Ian went to the bathroom. So here we are, the three of us on the street in downtown Vancouver, and he's talking to us. He's like, where are you guys going? We're like, we got another show. He's like, can I get in? Can I get on stage? And I said, yeah, I think so. So he said, but when you go ask the club owner, don't tell him it's Robin Williams. Just tell him it's a buddy of yours from out of town, Robin. If you can give me 5 minutes, that'd be great. So I went downstairs and talked to the club owner, and I said, hey, I've got a friend in town. He just dropped by. Can he do 5? And he's like, well, is he funny? I said, yes. And he goes, because you know if a guy you bring in is not funny, you're going to get less stage time. Yeah. I said, I'll be headlining next weekend. So we walked into the green room, and again, it was all about us. He was such a cool individual. He wanted to make us feel special. He walked into the green room. He led the way. He walked in. He said, hey, everybody, I'm Robin. This is Greg. This is Ian. And everybody in the room had so much more respect for him because one guy took a chance. We had a conversation. We connected, and we laughed. So remember that. When we laugh, we connect. Three years later, I was at a sales conference in Las Vegas at the Bellagio Hotel, and it was the biggest conference of our company. There's 4,000 people. It was the annual awards banquet. So 4,000 people were in the grand ballroom. I was at the very back of the room, and this was a big deal. I don't know what the budget was, but the house band was Lenny Kravitz. Maybe a little bit bigger budget than this weekend. And the number one salesperson in North America got a brand new Porsche. So that's the level we were playing at. So I was sitting at the back of the room with 10 people. I had no idea who they were. The MC got up. He was on the Whose Line Is It Anyway, Greg Proops. He was emceeing the whole event. And 7 minutes into a 3-hour program, he said something so horrible, he got fired on stage 7 minutes in. They cut his microphone. People left the stage, the house lights came on, Lenny started playing, and the room went silent. It was worse than right now. It was very awkward. And I sat at the back of the room, and I was like, man, I would hate to follow that guy. So about 5 minutes after, a voice came over the PA, and they said, you know what? We are so sorry for what just happened. We want to apologize, and wanted to let you know that we're going to be restarting the program in 15 minutes. And by the way, if anyone knows where Greg Kettner is, we need to talk to him immediately. That's when I froze. I was like, am I getting fired? Because I didn't know who I was talking with the night before and how many Heinekens I had. Why would somebody call my name out? I didn't say anything. I just sat there. But I looked to the left and I saw an exit door out to the casino. And to my right, what seemed like a mile was the stage. So about 5 minutes later, he came back on the voice and he said, if anybody knows where Greg is seated, his room number, his cell phone number, we need to talk to him. And that's when my former friend Trevor came running over to my table. He's like, Greg, they want you to go do stand-up. You're going to save the day. You're going up. I'm like, Trevor, I've got 5 minutes of fart and poop jokes. He's like, it's going to be better than that guy. So I remember walking to the front of the stage. It was a massive stage, royal blue curtain and everything. And I got backstage and I said, I'm Greg, how can I help? And they said, we need you to go out and do 15 minutes of stand-up comedy so we can figure out what the hell we're going to do for the rest of the 3 hours. And I thought, you know what? Here's my opportunity. I've always wanted to perform in Vegas. I had a sold-out crowd. And what story would I have if I hadn't done that? What story would I be able to tell you guys today? So I said, sure. So they're wiring me up with a microphone. And again, I'd only been in front of like 20, 30 people before in my life. So I'm standing backstage. The guy goes out to introduce me. Did me no favors. He walked out and he said, everybody, want to apologize again for what just happened. But lucky for us, one of our very own, Greg Kettner, is a stand-up comedian. He's very, 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 very funny. I turned around like, well, who's following me? So he introduced me. I stumbled out through this curtain, blinding lights, standing ovation, which I didn't deserve. I walked out there, I found my spot, I looked around and said, hey everybody, my name is Greg Kettner, and I cannot do any worse than that guy. And right there I had him. So I told some stories about Vegas. As risky as I got, I said, we are in Vegas. We always come to Vegas because the slogan is, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So it's not entirely true. We were here 6 months ago with the boys. Still hurts when I pee.
Okay.
All right, one person got that. So I finished, as I was closing my set, I was in sales, and that year, if you hit a certain number, you got to go on President's Club, which that year was a $10,000 cruise through Turkey, Italy, and Greece. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I was nowhere near getting on the boat. I hadn't hit my number that year, but I had a captive audience, and when you have an opportunity, it never hurts to ask. So I was up there and I said, you know what, I want to apologize to my teammates. I want to apologize to all of you. I didn't hit my number, but I'm kind of helping out the company right now.
Yeah.
Can I get on the boat? And I shut up. And about 10 seconds later, a guy from the front row stood up, came and shook my hand. He goes, kid, you're on the boat.
Yes.
Another standing ovation. I went nuts
Oh, yeah.
because I did 15 minutes of stand-up comedy in Vegas. I got a $10,000 trip. Which is the only time in my life that I'm going to make $40,000 an hour. But the lesson here is when you have an opportunity, say yes, even though you don't know what you're going to do. Figure it out, help people. Yep. The second lesson is, what was the second lesson? I just had a brain fart. Awesome. We can edit this, right? No. But the lesson is when we laugh, we connect. And when we connect, our hearts are opened up. Yep. So I got up there, I took a risk, I said yes. I made them laugh, and I got a $10,000 trip. Several years after that, I was running my own show in a hotel lobby bar in Vancouver, and this was the night that my brain switched in stand-up comedy and in life because I finally realized what Robin Williams had said to me. There was about 40 people in the hotel lobby bar. I was the MC, and at a comedy show, the MC warms up the audience, tells people where the bathrooms are, where to get drinks, all that kind of stuff, and we bring up the other comedians. So about 5 minutes into the show, a father and son, which I assumed, came and sat down in the front row, put their feet on my stage, grabbed a beer, and crossed their arms. Not the kind of body language you want at a comedy show. And so I thought, I don't know who these guys are, but I'm going to make these guys laugh. Because before that, I used to go on stage to get laughter, but that night I said, I have to give laughter. Subtle but big switch. So as the show kept on going, these guys started to smile a little bit and crack up. At one point, I said, hey, bartender, if you can get these two guys in the front row another round of beers and put it on their tab. That got them going. So finally, by the end of the show, by the time the headliner was done, they were laughing and having a good time. So afterwards, I went up and talked to them because I wanted to know where they're from and what they were doing. And so I asked him, I said, well, have you guys been to the show before? And he said, no, we've been walking by for the last 8 weeks. Every Thursday night we walk by, but we're too tired. I said, oh. He goes, yeah, we've been staying in the hotel. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer 8 weeks ago. And so my son and I stay here. Every day we go across the street. We take care of her. We take her to doctor appointments, do whatever we can to make her as comfortable as we can. I looked to the son. I said, well, how's mom doing? And he looked at me with tears in his eyes. And he said, mom passed away this morning. So here I am. I had no idea who these guys were. We're strangers. We're hugging in a hotel bar lobby after a comedy show. And the father finally got it together. And he said, Greg, thank you for making us laugh. It was the first time we felt normal in 8 weeks.
Yep. Way to go.
But it's not about me, it's about laughter. And it's about sharing with people that we know and that we don't know. Because When we laugh, we connect. And when we connect, our hearts are open. And when our hearts are open, we can change the world and make it a better place. So here's a little laughter break. After that. I don't know if any of you have seen this, but all right. Most of you have gone to the bathroom before. That's good. So like I said, I work with organizations and companies on how to work happy, to get more productivity, less stress, more self-care, more community. And one of my favorite authors, Sean Acorn, said, the single greatest advantage in the modern economy is a happy and engaged workforce. And I think that is so true. Everybody I talk to, people are stressed, people are lonely, we're asked to do more with less. And people, we need to laugh, we need to lighten up, we need to take care of ourselves before we can take care of others. The picture there is my favorite team, the Edmonton Oilers. And this picture was taken in 1984. The year before, in 1983, they were playing the New York Islanders, and they lost in the Stanley Cup Final 4-0. Just gotten wiped clean. And typically afterwards, they hoist the Stanley Cup, the crowd's going nuts, and the visiting team goes and locks. Whoever loses, right? You don't want to see that. But the coach kept his team out on the ice to watch the celebration of the Stanley Cup. And a reporter went up to Glenn Sather the next couple of days. He goes, why the hell would you do that? You guys had just played for 12 weeks. Their dreams were dashed. They're tired, they're spent, they're hurt, and you kept them out. And the coach said, I wanted them to see what it was like to win the Stanley Cup. I wanted my players to experience the joy that they saw on the other team. The next year they went out, they beat the New York Islanders 4-1. So by having positive thoughts, by thinking things, and research shows that even thinking about laughter, we don't have to laugh, but even thinking about it will release endorphins. I also know this true from research, is that when we have positive mental thoughts, like planning a vacation, my wife and I just booked a vacation for Mexico in June, and we have so much more positive energy and we're so much more happier. We haven't even gone on vacation, but the act of booking it and stuff can really help our mental health. So here's a couple of statistics on stress. 500 billion is siphoned from our economy due to stress. This is just North America. 550 million sick days are related to stress. And stress is also the cause of 60 to 80% of workplace accidents. Numbers are staggering, and this is obviously from a reputable organization. It affects the mental and physical and emotional of our well-being. Stress increases heart disease, mental health, and cancer. And by laughing, like Norm Cousins showed us, we can reduce, we can't get rid of cancer just for laughing, but we can reduce our stress and it drops our blood pressure, everything else. So doing things, self-care, laughing like we all do is very helpful. Loneliness. They did a recent survey, this was in 2021, 60% of the workforce is lonely. I don't know, anybody here had to work from home the last 2 years? It's a lot more difficult than I thought. When I first started working from home, I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna, be able to work from home in my pajamas and go to the kitchen for lunch and my wife will be there, right? I'm all excited, and about 3 months later, you hear a cough across the house and you're like, Lord Jesus, let it be her. It got very lonely. Even though we're working and living in the same house, it can be lonely. Loneliness affects our productivity and employee retention. And loneliness increases sick days by 5 times. That's a lot, just because people are lonely and they don't have anyone to talk to or hang out with. And obviously it contributes to depression and anxiety. People are disengaged. I know I was. During COVID, productivity dropped by 18%, a 37% increase in absenteeism, 49% more work-related accidents, 60% more errors and defects. So if you're manufacturing, that's where that went up. And a 65% lower share price over time for companies because people are lonely and disengaged in the workforce. So how do we take care of stress? How do we turn that around? Anybody here meditate? Probably everybody meditates. I started meditating about 6-8 months ago. I have severe ADHD, so I never thought I could last 3 minutes by myself, listening to my thoughts. But now I do it every morning. I have an app, I use Headspace. And every morning for 15 minutes, I sit there, I meditate, and I can tell at the end of the day if I meditated or not. It's absolutely amazing. So it helps with anxiety, it reduces insomnia. I didn't know that as well too. I just recently started, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but a book called Breathe. It's all about breathing and how we've gotten away from it, and we're not taking slow, deep breaths anymore. But I started breathing exercises about 4 weeks ago, and I have slept so much better. Even just laying in bed, I'll start counting my breaths, meditating, laying in bed, and I'm out in like 3 or 4 minutes. So it improves our heart, our brain, our digestion, and our immune system. Anyone want to guess how much this bottle of water weighs? The water weighs?
How much it costs or how much?
Weighs. 8 ounces, 10, 12 ounces.
How much have you drank?
Yeah, right, fair enough. But here's the idea. If I hold on to this bottle for an hour, I'll be all right. If I hold on to it for a day, it gets heavy. If I hold it for a week, it's going to fall out of my hand. The water is like stress. The water still weighs 8 ounces, but the longer we hold on to the stress, the more it weighs. So the lesson on that one is put the water down, right? At the end of the day, at the end of the week, we all have stresses. That's life. We can't get rid of it. But let's do things. Let's breathe. Let's meditate. Let's communicate. Let's laugh. Put the water down. Community. I'm a big fan of community, obviously. I'm an outgoing guy. I love meeting people, and it's been one of the highlights this weekend, meeting all of you. But in my community, we volunteer. Our family, once a quarter, we have a Christian Aid Center in Walla Walla, and they help homeless people get back up on their feet. There's classes and training. And so we'll go in once a quarter, and the 3 of us will cook dinner for about 15 guys. And it's the coolest thing, because we have this like restaurant kitchen and everything, and they have everything planned for us. We just have to put it together. But we do that, and when I first started doing it, I was like, oh, this is going to be so great for the people that I'm serving. But the amount of conversations and the amount of goodwill that I feel when I serve others, it's absolutely amazing. And we all know that, right? When we serve other people, that's when the stress goes down, and that's when we feel better. So volunteer, connect with people. It's a lot different. I probably have more online friends now than I have real friends in life over the last 2 years. Paul and I met on LinkedIn. It wasn't eHarmony. But connect with people, right? Go out of your comfort zone, make connections. I mean, there's all these people here. What if every one of us connected with 3 people? How many do those 3 people know, right? We can do a lot of things just by connecting, having conversations, and helping other people. And that goes for networking. I'm a huge networker, whether it's at church or a Rotary meeting or events like this. I love to connect. I love to hear other people's stories, share, and learn from them. And then here's another one. Oh, gratitude text. Everybody got their phone? Pull your phone out. And we are all going to send a gratitude text. So here's how it works. Go through your phone and find someone that you haven't talked to recently, or someone that you're grateful for, and just send them a quick text. It could be your wife, your husband, your kids, a boss. Send them a quick text and see how long it takes. And there'll probably be a lot of dings and whatnot for the next 3 or 4 minutes. But send a quick, short, sincere text to somebody and just say, you know what? I remember this. I appreciate you. Thank you. I was doing this a couple of weeks ago with a leadership team, and one guy started texting, and not 30 seconds later, he got a text back. Or his phone started to ring. He goes, what do I do? And I go, well, take the call. So he took this call, And it was his buddy he hadn't talked to in 5 years. And his text just said, "Hey, Roy, I miss golfing with you. Let me know when we can go again." And he came up to me afterwards and he said the whole conversation was like, "Dude, I don't know why we're not golfing more and hanging out. I missed you." So that's the power of a gratitude text. It's the give versus get mentality. And it doesn't have to be long unless you're long-winded. You can write a book about it. But I encourage you, that was for my wife, but she's not here. She always has long texts. But do it daily. When you wake up in the morning, before you turn on the news, before the kids are in your hair or you have to go off to work, find someone, send a gratitude text, because you'll feel good for doing it. They'll feel great for getting the text. And then typically when you get the text back, it's even more. You're going to feel better than when you sent the text. So pay it forward. And this was one that I got from my buddy Dean. "Hey, Greg, just want you to know that I'm grateful for our friendship. The day we met talking about college coverage at basketball games, I found a kindred spirit. You're a joy to spend time with, and I hope we'll find a way to build our friendship for many, many years to come." Aww. Dean's a great guy. He was the first guy that hired me to speak to the YWCA. He runs one over in Seattle. And so just a gratitude text. And this is what I got back from him. I sent a text to him and saying, "Hey, I miss you." They moved out of town. I said, "Next time you're in town, let's get a bottle of wine and catch up." So how do we go from being disengaged to productive? A couple of tips here. Plan tomorrow tonight. So this is more like when you're working. I know we're kind of quasi on vacation. But if you have a job, if you're a nurse, if you're a teacher or whatnot, before you go home that night, look at your calendar tomorrow. See what you have coming up so you can at least prepare a little bit. And in your mind, it'll help you sleep a lot better as well, too. You're not worried, what meetings do I have? Have I got the presentation done? Have I got the lesson plans done? So plan tomorrow tonight. And Brian Tracy was famous for coining "eat the frog." It's a hard thing to do. I am not good with paperwork. I hate it, unless it's filing checks. But sending out invoices or proposals or all that is not my forte, and I know that. So every morning, that's what I start out with. I start out with the things I don't want to do. Because if we wait for them all day long, then we're worried about it, and our productivity slows because, I got to get that proposal out, got to get it out. But if you do it first thing in the morning, you got it out, you got the rest of the day to do the stuff that you love to do, and you can become more productive. Laugh daily, hourly, as needed, if needed. I encourage all of my clients that I talk to, and I encourage all of you in this room, in your calendar, put a daily task reminder to laugh. Even if it's for 5 minutes. You can pull up your favorite comedian, Robin Williams or Brian Regan. Babies laughing is always a good one on YouTube. But whatever makes you laugh, do that for 5 minutes. And maybe you had a really rough meeting with a client that went sideways. If you're stressed, go back to your office or your home, wherever you are, laugh again. Because when we do that, it helps. And I didn't know this. I was doing some research. I found out that 15 minutes of laughter can burn 15 calories, which is awesome. So I kept on reading, and I found out 30 minutes of sex burns 45 calories. And I'm a practical guy, right? So I combine the two, and I burned 12,000 calories while my wife was chasing me. Laughter is good. And then if you're in sales, happy salespeople sell 37% more. So people who are happy are better looking, they're more productive, they get a bigger pay raise, and they can make more money. Towards the end, mental health, I know we all deal with it, we all talk about it, we're talking about it more. But it was March 18th, 2018. My wife woke me up, we'd been married for a year, woke me up at 2 o'clock in the morning and said, "We need to talk." And I thought, what do I do now? She said, "Grant died last night." Grant is Rachel's dad. And I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" And she said it was suicide. Not the way you want to be woken up, 2 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. So my wife Becky and I sat on the couch for 6 hours trying to figure out how to tell a 13-year-old that her dad's passed by suicide. It was complete hell. We didn't know what to do. We were Googling. We waited for a couple hours. My brother's a psychologist. So at 5 o'clock, I'm like, I'm calling Todd. I needed help. So she came downstairs, and she saw us sitting there, and she's like, what's going on? And Becky was like, sit down. We have some bad news to share with you. And when we shared it with her, she was more shocked than anything, just as I was when I first heard it, right? And with grief, there's a bunch of different stages. There can be anger, there can be shock, there can be crying, hurtfulness, all these kinds of things. And she said, you know what, I want to go to school today. And we kind of, maybe not the right play. She said, I want to go, I need to keep my mind off of things. And so we said yes. She came back about noon because she couldn't handle it anymore, just too much stress on her. But here's the thing about kindness and about laughter. That afternoon, two of our friends who have kids, Rachel's friends at school, two of them dropped by. And when you're talking to people, whether it's suicide or a car accident or cancer, so a lot of people say, well, what do I say, Greg? You really don't have to say anything. You have to be there with a hug and say, I'm sorry. That's all it is. The first couple showed up with a bunch of flowers, and they said, we don't know what to say. And we said, you know what, Mike, Kim, just thank you for being here. And then the other family showed up with a bucket of ice cream and a bunch of cookies.
Yeah.
They said, we don't know what to say or what to do, but we know that ice cream and cookies make us happy. So let's remember that when we hear of people who are struggling through grief, just be there. A text, a phone call, a hug can do so much. As well, laughter is a healer. It doesn't take away the pain, but it helps us get through it. 2 nights before her dad passed, I'd gotten us tickets to go see Brian Regan, a very famous comedian. If you haven't seen him yet, go YouTube him. Your grandma can watch him. Your kids can watch him. Very clean and very funny. So through my connections, I was able to get a meet and greet because Rachel knows all of Brian Regan's jokes. She can't remember to feed the dog, but she remembers all the punchlines. So she had no idea that we were going to do a meet and greet. It was at the hockey stadium that I was working at. And before the show, I said, hey, I want to show you where my office is. So we went downstairs. I knocked on the door. The door opened up, and Brian was like, Rachel, how's it going? And I've never seen a kid that dumbfounded. She's like, but you're the guy. He goes, yeah. He goes, I know your dad or your stepdad. And she's like, no way, you know each other? So we had about 5 minutes with Brian Regan's. Then we went out, we had front row tickets. It was just an amazing night. That was 2 nights before. And then he passed, and then we had all this turmoil and all this grief. And I remember about a week after, we were sitting at supper, we were talking, and the tears started flowing. All 3 of us were crying. I said, you know what? The only thing I know how to do to help us is to laugh. So we went over, we sat down on the couch, we pulled up his latest Netflix special, and with 10 or 15 minutes, all 3 of us were laughing. It got us through it. It didn't take away the pain, but it got us through it. So remember that. When you see somebody who's struggling with mental health, or people left behind after suicide, or people left behind from a car accident or cancer, or whatever it might be, to be there for them, you don't have to know what to say. You just have to be there and be present. But mental health is obviously a huge issue in our world, especially after the last 2 years. But also remember, you're not alone. You know, there's close to 100 people in this room when we've all had our journey, right? We've all had different degrees of anxiety or depression or mental health. So remember that we're all in this together. You're not alone. And if you are struggling and if you need help, reach out to someone that you feel comfortable with, whether it's a partner or a friend or a psychologist or anybody. Just reach out. Reach out to me. You can always go, my email's greg@gregkettner. And I always say this, I was doing a sports conference, speaking at a sports conference in Vegas in August. And the sports world, very type A, mostly men-driven, and they don't talk about mental health. Why would you, right? There's a lot of people that suffer from it, but I'm a sports guy. You play the game, you keep on going. So we had a mental health forum, and there was me, Michelle, and Brett. And I started out, I said, this is not a lecture. there's no stats, there's no slides, it's a conversation. And it was amazing how people opened up. The forum was supposed to last for 40 minutes. It went for 80. And we had conversations. People were standing up and said, you know what, I had a colleague, somebody that I managed, and I knew that his dad passed by suicide, and I didn't know what to do. That was 7 years ago, and I still feel bad. I said, well, do you still have his contact information? He goes, yeah, he went to a different team. I said, all you need to do is send him an email, call him up and say, you know what? I wanted to apologize because I knew your dad had passed. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. I'm sorry. He emailed me a week later, and he said he's rekindled that friendship with that person, and he said he's never felt better about it, and he has no more guilt, just because he reached out and he talked to somebody. As I was walking back to my hotel room, a younger gentleman came running up to me and he's like, Greg, can I talk to you for a second? And I said, yeah. And he said, I want to share your story because I feel like you're safe. We had a conversation. So he had just finished his senior year at Boston University. He was playing middle linebacker, and he had a heart condition, and he couldn't play football anymore. And so his dreams were dashed. He went into deep depression, had thoughts of suicide. And I said, I'm so sorry, how can I help? And he goes, just talking to you makes me feel better. And he said, you're the only person I've told this other than my mom and my counselor. And I was just overcome. I started crying. And he's like, what? I said, no, it's so cathartic for me to hear your story. So we never know the stories that are out there. So be empathetic, care about people, love and trust people, and that helps a lot. Like I said, you're not alone. Over 40 million adults in America struggle with anxiety, obviously at varying degrees, but it can be very, very crippling. So if you're in, reach out. People care about you. You matter. Men in the Middle is a group that we started in our town. I joined a support group for suicide in Walla Walla called Reach Out Walla Walla. So we're there to help each other get through the pain, but we're also there to talk more about mental health and make it a comfortable conversation instead of an awkward one. So we started a group because we found, and this is across the board in Walla Walla County, but the highest risk of suicide is men 25 to 45 in the trades. And so we have a group now in Walla Walla. We'll go for a beer together once a month. We'll go golf. We helped an old lady move. But when you get together and you serve other people, you're shoulder to shoulder, you can have these conversations about your kids, about your life, your job and whatnot. So now I've got 25 guys that if stuff goes sideways in my life, whether it's my marriage or I'm struggling with Rachel, being a stepdad, whatever it is, I have 25 guys that I can reach out to. It was so powerful, and I thought, this is great, but is it really making an effect? Well, my neighbor, Cody, is an EMT, lives right next door to us, and he's a great guy. He's got a really wicked sense of humor. We asked him once to watch our dog, Andy, for a couple nights, let him out, go to the bathroom and feed him, and we came home Sunday night and thanked him. And then Tuesday morning I woke up, a day and a half later, and we have some family pictures on our dresser in the room. And I looked, and here was a picture. Cody had taken a picture of himself, creeping, and he put it in front of Becky and I's wedding photo. So I woke up and I saw Cody just looking at me in the bed. So that's the kind of guy he is. He has a really good sense of humor. But he's been in fire and EMT for a long time, and he's seen a lot of horrible things. He's suicide, deaths, accidents, house fires, that kind of thing. And so he went away to Virginia. There's a new program for firefighters and police to help them with their PSD. So he was there for 4 weeks, and he roomed with a guy and became friends, and he was telling me about this. Well, about a month or two later, I was taking some self-care. I was in the bath with a glass of wine and a book, and my phone went off. And Cody's like, I need to talk to you right away. And I said, well, it's not going to happen right away because I'm naked, but give me 5 minutes. So I ran out to the driveway, and he was just in tears. It was a complete mess. I'm like, dude, what's going on? He goes, the guy I was rooming with in Virginia took his life. Oh, my God. But here we were, two grown men on a driveway on a warm summer evening, and we talked for an hour. He talked, I listened. But that's the power of reaching out, of talking to people, because we all struggle. And Robin Williams once said, everybody is going through something that we know nothing about. Always be kind. The Humor Lab. If you're on Facebook, most people are. I started a group on Facebook. It's the Humor Lab. Everybody contributes their humor. It's PG-13, no politics. And I'm adamant about the no politics, or it's got to be PG-13, because I want my grandma to see it, and I also want Rachel to be able to see it. But I started it because I thought, you know what, I'm going to be stuck in the house for a month or two, and here it is 2 years later. So I started this group, and last time I checked, we were at 30,000 people from around the world. And the coolest thing about it is that everybody's contributing to it, but weekly I get texts or messages from people saying, thank you so much for the Humor Lab. One guy on the East Coast, he said, thank you so much for this. I go to this every day. During COVID, I got a divorce, I lost my job, and my daughter got sick. And he goes, it's nice just to go there. Before I go to bed, I scroll through, I read, I laugh. So thank you for that. And so that has been, for many people, but for me, the feel good is hearing from people like that. And then also too, if anyone in this room, and chances are, I mean, that's just the odds, is suffering from depression or anxiety, and you may have thoughts of suicide, you can always text the word hello to 741-741, and there's a professional there to help you out, to get you on a phone, to help you find a counselor, somebody who will listen, who knows what they're talking about. And I encourage people to put that in your phone number. You can just write it, the name is hello, but the text, you can text it to 741-741, because you matter, we all matter, and people want the best for us. So, remember that number you chose at the beginning of my talk? What's the number now? 741-741. Sure. It's a high number. I like it. You were listening. But did the number go up? Hopefully. If it didn't, I haven't done my job. But it's always a good check-in, right? Whether it's the beginning of your day, beginning of your week. How happy am I? And if I'm not happy, what self-care do I need to do to get back to happy?
Is a humor lab.
Yep. So there's a QR code, I think it's called. I also send out a Friday Funny. Every Friday money, again, it's PG-13, it's HR approved. So if any of you want that, you can scan the code or talk to me afterwards. But I send out a funny cartoon or a video, and it's good for me, but it's also got me a lot of business too, because people love to have something that they can share in their office, and they can be the humor hero. And this guy is obviously talking sales here. It says, for this part, I credit hard work, ingenuity, and perseverance, and the rest of the chart he blames on gravity. So that's it. So the three things I want you to take away is when we laugh, we connect. And when we connect, our hearts are opened up. And when our hearts are opened up, that's when we can make significant change in our worlds and everybody else. So thank you for what you do. I appreciate it. I'm Greg Kettner. We'll do it again. Thank you.